Donald Trump is having a catastrophic Saturday. He's lashing out against two Republican senators for refusing to confirm Todd Blanche as his attorney general. Trump has gone silent after the Justice Department dismissed the fabricated and fraudulent case regarding the reflecting pool. A top U.S. military general is warning that the United States does not have enough Navy destroyers if Donald Trump escalates this catastrophic and unlawful war in Iran. Iran is continuing to strike tankers in the Strait of Hormuz that do not follow the IRGC's instructions about where they need to travel. If the tankers use the southern route that the U.S. is encouraging them to take, Iran continues to strike these tankers. 2 more tankers have been hit. Donald Trump's buddy, Gianni Infantino, is likely going to lose his job as the FIFA president. UEFA, the European Football Association, is calling for Infantino to resign, or else they will call a no confidence vote after Infantino, the Kushners, and Trump tried to come up with this scheme to sell off FIFA to private equity, and that's just the tip of the iceberg on this Saturday morning. Oh, and also in the Amsterdam Pride Canal Parade, Donald Trump is getting brutally mocked. Let me just show you this right here. Trump and Putin appear to be the kissing couple at Amsterdam's 2026 Canal Parade. Let me show you this here. Let's play this clip. So here's Donald Trump lashing out this morning on his social media account. This is what he does when he wakes up in the morning. If Senators Cornyn and Tillis, both upset because I wouldn't endorse them, they lost and quit respectively, aren't going to approve Todd Blanche, one of the most respected professionals, according to everybody in the country, to be the United States Attorney General, then I will keep Todd as acting AG and push hard to get the anti-weaponization bill, which takes care of those who have been so badly treated by the crooked Joe Biden and Obama administration. I get nothing, although I was treated horribly past. Todd Blanche was a voice of reason. It will immediately be back on the table, and I will get it done. Thank you for your attention to this matter, DJT. Just like his fabricated case regarding the reflecting pool, where he prosecuted an innocent Olympic canoeist, and it was all determined to be an absolute fraud. Trump lies about everything. You know, when Trump says, I get nothing, that means he gets everything. Specifically, Trump gets a waiver of all tax investigations, of all audits, which could be billions of dollars in tax evasion, and the so-called anti-weaponization fund for the insurrectionists, which is absolutely horrible, is a smokescreen also for Donald Trump's benefit, which is potentially a waiver of billions of dollars in taxes that Donald Trump owes or may owe. No tax audits for Donald Trump in a frivolous case that he brought against the government. How pathetic can you be? Now, Senator Tillis has responded and said, look, despite comments as late as yesterday that the fund is dead, Donald Trump clearly intends to resurrect the payout for punks, either by inappropriately establishing another bogus fund or pushing Congress to vote for a bill that the majority of Republicans in the Senate would be against. He's saying, we're not going to vote for a bill that gives January 6th insurrectionists money and gives you a waiver of tax audits and investigations into your tax fraud. Tillis goes on to say, it's unfortunate that Todd Blanche, who I consider qualified for the job, will not be confirmed because of this reversal. Hopefully this can be resolved by Tuesday. And you know, it's not going to be resolved by Tuesday because Donald Trump doesn't want to put it in writing that the waiver of his tax liability and him not being audited by the IRS, he doesn't want to put that in writing, that gets eliminated. That's the main thing he wants out of this. Let's be very clear. Now, we've been covering here on the MeidasTouch network General Alexis Grinkowicz, the Grinch, sometimes he's called, Alexis Grinkowicz, the top U.S. commander in Europe, has warned the Pentagon he no longer has enough Navy destroyers to keep protecting Israel from Iranian ballistic missile attacks while also meeting U.S. defense needs. Clearly, Grinkowicz realizes that Israel is bringing the United States into this catastrophic and unlawful war, which we already did, and that they're one of the main reasons that the U.S. is now wanting to escalate, right? Yesterday, Donald Trump leaked to state regime media, CBS and others, that the U.S. is going to escalate and commit all of these war crimes. So clearly, General Grinkowicz is saying, great, well, guess what? We're not going to protect Israel. Israel's bringing us into this. We don't have enough Navy destroyers to protect Israel. So y'all may think, let's do these war crimes, but guess what? You're not even going to be able to protect the person who's dragging us into this catastrophic and unlawful war. The destroyers, which have intercepted missiles targeting Israel, are stretched by operations in the Mediterranean, Red Sea, and around Iran, while maintenance issues have further reduced availability. This was first reported in the Washington Post. Now, this is in addition to the interceptors that are dwindling. There's the PAC-3 interceptors that are dwindling and the THAAD interceptors that are dwindling. I mean, these are SM-3 and SM-6 ballistic missiles, which cost a lot of money. As this account says, first, the Arab Dome is failing with the PAC-3, the Patriot interceptors, and the THAAD interceptors. And now United States European Command says its destroyers won't be able to defend Israel anymore. Shortage of the SM-3 and SM-6 anti-ballistic interceptors on these Navy destroyers. We were worried back in April that the U.S. was running out of these anti-ballistics. And if you go back to our reporting 6 months ago, we were saying that this guy, General Grinkowicz, was out there giving these warnings, and that, you know, I believe Grinkowicz is one of the good guys out there, unlike CENTCOM Commander Brad Cooper, who I think is absolutely horrible. This was a video we did 6 months ago. Trump gets public warning from his own top generals. We were telling you back then on the network what was going on. And then 4 months ago, when he testified before the United States Senate, I thought he was being pretty candid and giving warnings back then as well. And that's why we were trying to cue you in 6 months and 4 months ago, specifically on this guy, Grinkowicz, who today made this warning. We don't have Navy destroyers if you escalate this catastrophic and unlawful war. Meanwhile, the Kuwaiti army is saying that Iran launched drone attacks and struck several places overnight, including government facilities in the north, as well as, quote, civilian vehicles belonging to one of the civilian companies in the Bubiyan Island. The Bubiyan Island and the north of Kuwait are location where U.S. have these HIMARS systems and where the U.S. has a lot of military. And so often the Kuwaiti army will either say the Iranian ballistic missiles and Shahed drones did not strike their targets, or only the debris hit their targets, when we know that they actually hit their targets because we have access to the satellite footage that I share with you often of what's going on. But this is interesting because this tells me that the Iranian, the IRGC struck these Kuwaiti locations hard. Because Kuwait's acknowledging the strikes for like the first time. They rarely acknowledge it, but they're claiming it was on civilian vehicles, but it's in an area where the United States has its military, its HIMARS. And so Iran saw Donald Trump leak to state regime CBS and to these other networks that he was going to launch these attacks. So Iran started attacking certain additional areas in the Middle East where the U.S. still has some equipment. The U.S. moved a lot of its equipment to Israel, by the way, but where the U.S. still has some equipment, Iran's able to see it and locate it and has been able to strike that equipment. That's what they were doing. Also, as I noted at the outset of this video, 2 tankers came under Iranian attack in separate incidents over the past few hours along the so-called U.S. designated shipping route off the coast of Oman in the Strait of Hormuz, the UK MTO said. An oil tanker was struck by an unidentified projectile off the coast of Oman, and then another one 21 nautical miles off the coast of Oman as well. Now, if you look at what's going on in the Red Sea, so Strait of Hormuz, Persian Gulf, look at the Red Sea, Bab el-Mandab Strait. At least 6 Saudi oil tankers have rerouted around Africa instead of using the Red Sea after Houthi threats against ships linked to Saudi ports. The longer route adds about 2 weeks to voyages, highlighting growing security risks and disruption to regional oil shipping. So while CENTCOM is lying and says the U.S. controls the Strait of Hormuz, ships, tankers, go on through, it's safe. As I showed you before, when tankers tried that yet again, Iran struck 2 of those tankers, and the other tankers in the Strait of Hormuz made a U-turn and went back. The U.S. does not control the Strait of Hormuz. Let's be very blunt. That's just an objective damn fact. But let's talk about the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandab Strait. Even there, the Houthis, part of the axis of resistance with Iran, made it clear they are enforcing a blockade on Saudi Arabian tankers. That's what they said. We're focused on the Saudi Arabian tankers. They're going to let other tankers go through the Bab el-Mandab. But the Houthis said, Saudi Arabian tankers, we are going to strike. So how do we know that's true? Is Saudi Arabia afraid or worried about that? Well, Saudi Arabia is rerouting its ships in a direction that's going to add 2 weeks more to the travel because they understand that this blockade is real. Also, should be noted, moments ago we learned that all of the embassies in the Middle East are basically being told, that Americans are being told by all of the embassies in the Middle East, you need to evacuate right now. Americans currently in the Middle East should exercise caution. Americans in the region should consider departing or be prepared to depart should there be escalation. Americans outside the Middle East should seriously reconsider traveling through the region. So basically, a warning for the entire Middle East. This has Donald Trump with all of the data points I'm giving you. We're out of Navy destroyers. We're out of interceptors, okay? Our generals are warning Trump. We don't have the resources even if you want to escalate here, right? With Donald Trump engaged in all these fabrication and lies here at home, this is what he wants to do because this all is distraction from the Epstein files. Catastrophic war to distract from the Epstein files, and now distracting from this to distract from that. This Russian nesting doll of Donald Trump's fraud right before our eyes. And speaking of Russian nesting dolls, Russia, Kyiv was hit hard last night. I did a very long video on it this morning because it's very important that we all know what's going on here. Donald Trump and Putin had a conversation July 4th, 90 minutes on America's 250th anniversary. Trump and Putin spoke to each other. Just think about that. That's how Donald Trump spent a great deal of time on America's 250th. What did they talk about? Well, we could surmise based on what we now know on August 1st. Notably, after Donald Trump and Putin had that conversation, Donald Trump started to act like he was going to give Zelensky critical Patriot interceptors, or at least give Zelensky and Ukraine a license for Patriot interceptors. Ukraine is out of interceptors. They don't have a license, and the interceptors are the only way you can strike the ballistic missiles. Ukraine is able to strike down most of the Russian Shahed drones, a lot of the Russian cruise missiles, not the ballistics. You need the interceptors to strike down the Russian ballistic missiles. Without the interceptors, every ballistic missile basically hits its target. And going back 18 months ago, first Zelensky was told, with the Biden administration, he would get this before Trump took over. And then what Trump had said is, I'll give the interceptors to Europe. Europe can pay for them. They could pay for them, and then they can give them to Ukraine. And then Donald Trump never gave them to Europe, and so Zelensky never got this. But this past month, Donald Trump has been pretending that he was going to give the license to Zelensky, as Trump uses the word tapping along. Yeah, Trump was tapping Zelensky along and making it feel like the U.S. was going to give these licenses. Zelensky even showed up this past week where Zelensky thought that he was going to be getting the license, not even the interceptors, the license from Lockheed to be able to build them themselves over in Ukraine, to get the technology. And then Donald Trump rug pulled it and said, you know what, I'm not going to give it to you. So Trump spent this whole critical month of July, as you head into these winter months, which is going to be very devastating for Ukraine if they don't have the interceptors. Trump intentionally wasted basically a month of Zelensky's time on these interceptors, believing that he was going to get the license, rug pulled him. And now what's Russia doing? Russia sends these salvos. Last night, Russia sent 35 missiles, 27 ballistics, and as Zelensky said, only one ballistic missile from Russia was intercepted. The 26 others hit their targets because Ukraine does not have the ability to intercept these ballistics. And so that's a major issue right now taking place. And you look at some of the areas: 18 residential buildings, a school, the Lithuanian embassy and infrastructure facilities were damaged. 9 people were killed in these Russian strikes in Kyiv. And as we talk about some of those civilian facilities that were hit by Russia, it's now confirmed that the United States dropped a 2,000-pound bomb on someone's house in Keshem Island this past week, killing a family of 3. The New York Times visual investigation confirmed our reporting here on the MeidasTouch Network and reporting right out of Iran, where they were showing these visuals. The weapon, one of the largest in the U.S. arsenal, struck a house in a heavily populated area and killed a family of 3. You can see the crater that this bomb just bombed a house. Another war crime by the Trump regime right there. MB Ghalibaf, Iran's parliament leader and lead negotiator, writes, "The United States soils its hands with a new crime every day. The terrorist attack on the residential homes of civilians on Keshem Island is a continuation of the atrocities in Manab and Lamerd. Americans have grown accustomed to making up for the slaps they receive on the battlefield by spilling the blood of the innocent. They will pay the price." That's a warning coming from MB Ghalibaf of Iran. So with all of this going on, with the walls closing in on Donald Trump, with this catastrophic Saturday, what does Donald Trump do? What does he go back to? Let's send ICE and Border Patrol on the streets to torture people. That's how a petty, petulant, wannabe fascist behave. So what are we seeing right now? We're seeing in New York City a lot of ICE agents out walking around spraying people in the face with like mace, or with bear spray. Here, let me show you. Here, I'll play this clip.
Get out of my fucking face!
And again, you have these masked ICE, Border Patrol, Gestapo invading New York City. This was yesterday in Bushwick, and community members, just like we saw in Minnesota. Here's what we're seeing in Manhattan and the boroughs right now. People coming together saying, get the hell out. Let me show you what happened.
Get out of here. You fascist piece of shit, get the fuck out of New York. Where the fuck is your warrant? Where the fuck is your warrant? Where the fuck is your warrant? You fucking, every single one of you, we will fucking put in jail. Don't you fucking forget this shit. Every single, where the fuck is your warrant? Do not open, no abres la maldita puerta. No abras now. Fucking scum. Where the fuck is the judge that gave you the right to be here, son? Where the fuck is the judge? Huh? You know who the fuck is the judge in this country? We the judge, son. And we're gonna go through every single file, son. Every single file. You have a leader.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about all of this. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching. We're grateful for you. We appreciate you. Oh, pre-order WTF America. Have you got your copy of WTF America? It's the book I wrote with my brothers. It's really helpful if you pre-order it now versus wait until October. It comes out October, but our publisher says it's really helpful to do the pre-orders. It gives us a lot of the data that we need to be able to determine how we promote the book better and where we do the book tour and just all that stuff that the publisher needs. So pre-order it now if you can. We appreciate you. There should be a QR code. There's a link in the description below. Thanks everybody for watching.
Before you go, our book, WTF America, is available for pre-order now. It's the story of how we got here and how we fight our way back. To pre-order, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.